ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहरा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सरणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome all for today's Bhagavad class. We are in chapter 9, and in this chapter we saw Krishna says that I will give the most confidential knowledge because you are not envious of me. And this is the knowledge of pure bhakti. So in chapter 2 to 6, knowledge of matter, spirit, and was given was confidential. 7, 8 was about bhakti. So it was more guhya. And now chapter 9 is about keval bhakti, only pure bhakti, that is guhyatama. So this is what is described here. And then Krishna says that how this knowledge is joyfully performed, is everlasting, and only the faithless person who are faithful can attain Krishna, others cannot. And then he gives knowledge about his Aishwarya Jnana, about different things, how he can be seen. And then he tells about the creation and destruction of material world, that how in different periods creation and destruction takes place by different energies, but no work can bind him, and how is the supreme director. Then he describes about how different types of worshippers worship Lord Krishna from 11 to 25. So he describes about the four kind of people who do not uh, worship Krishna, or they are like fools who do not worship Krishna. And then there are some Mahatmas, Ananya Bhaktas, who worship Krishna with devotion. And then three kinds of jnanis are explained by Krishna: Ekatvena, Pritakweda, and Vishwatomukhan. So these are the which is described, and then how he can be worshipped in universal self form, Vishwarup is described, and then he describes from verse number 20-25 is about Pratikopasna, that is demigod worship, and he says that how one can attain heaven by his piety, but then when his results are exhausted, he has to come back again to the material world, and then he describes how, but his Ananya Bhakti, the person who does pure devotion service, do not have to come back. And then he describes how demigod worship is only worshipping him, but in a wrong way. It's avidhi purvakam. And then he describes how all acts are meant for satisfying Krishna, and he also defines different types of worship and their different destinations. He describes that who worship demigods go to demigods planets. Those who worship ancestors go to ancestors planet, but those who worship him go back to God, spiritual world. And then he describes all the glories of Krishna Bhakti in the last section, which we are in. And he describes of how Krishna accepts anything which is offered to him with devotion. Even patram pushpam phalam toyam. So even small thing can please Krishna. And then he describes that how if one cannot do keval bhakti, cannot do, then one should do everything as an offering to Krishna. So whatever one eat, whatever one do, whatever one doesn't sacrifice, whatever auspicious one perform, so one should do as an offering to Krishna. And then one who does like that, what happens is he's freed from the karma bandhan, so from the material world, from the clutches of this birth and death. And then he says that how Krishna is equal to all, but he's specially inclined to a devotee. And then the question comes that what happens to a person who starts devotional service but then falls down? So Krishna tells that he's a sadhu, even if uh, he fall downs, if he becomes he does some durachar, but if he's engaged in devotional service, so then he's called a sadhu. So this is accidental, not willful. So if somebody willful does, then he's not called sadhu. But if sometimes accidentally happens, then he's called sadhu, and therefore he quickly becomes righteous. And therefore he says that you declare it boldly that Namay Bhakta, that my devotee will never perish. And then he says that what to speak of person who does once sin or he commits sinful activities once. Even the persons who are born in sinful families, who are the lowest of mankind. So he says that here pisu papa yonia. So who are like lower sinful birth. So Sriyo Vaisha Sata Shudra Siyapi Yanti Param. So they also can go back to Godhead. Then, if they can go to back then what about the Brahmanas and Vaishyas, Brahmanas and Rajeshis? So he says that, oh, they can also go back to Godhead. And now we are in verse number 34, which is the conclusion. That is the essence that how we should worship Krishna directly. That is pure bhakti. So this is what is there in verse number 34. Let's recite this verse and then move forward. मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मदयाजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैशसि युक्तैवम् आत्मना मत्परायणा. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So here Krishna is saying that what you should do is in your mind, you should always think of me. Do not think of other subjects. Like whenever we are sitting, sometimes we are chanting and all. We know that mind cannot sit idle. Some other thoughts will definitely come. So instead of thinking other things, think of Krishna. So and he says, become my devotee. Then worship me. Offer obeisances to me. So in this way, when we are completely absorbed, then we'll surely go back to Godhead. So if somebody wants to go back to Godhead, spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan Dham, wants to be part of Krishna Lila, then the key is absorption. How absorbed are we in spiritual activities? If we are not absorbed, then we are not going through back to Godhead. So this is the important thing. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscriptural commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna. So, this verse says that if one is not devotee of Krishna, then he cannot be delivered from the clutches of material world. See, it doesn't mean that if somebody is not a devotee of Krishna, he will not get anything. Surely, if somebody worships the demigod, he will get certain benefit. But no demigod claims that he can take someone out of this material world. Nobody claims like this. Only Krishna can claim like this, and he can actually do this. And therefore, uh, there are many commentators who stated wrongly also that devotional service uh, done to the other Brahman or something. So many things, there are distortions. And therefore, we should read only authentic Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, unsuch commenters divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, mind, and he himself are on the one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Puran, as it is quoted by Srila Bhakti Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhasya comments on the Chaitanya Charitamrita 5th chapter Alila, verses 41 to 48. Deha Dehi Vibheda Ayam Neshwara Vidyate Kvachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know the signs of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is a sheer ignorance of the signs of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. So, some commentators say that we should not uh, bow down to Krishna, we should not surrender to Krishna, but something within Krishna or some other personality or something like they will speak. There was one commentator who will say that Krishna is saying here to surrender to me, so you should surrender to Guru, that is me. So this is how so many commenters say different things, but which is not correct. So for Krishna, uh, there is no difference between mind, soul, and intelligence and everything. It is all same. There is no difference because it's spiritual, and there is no difference. So one of the limbs of Krishna can do the work of any other limb. Like Krishna can eat through the eyes. So there is no need of for Krishna to eat through mouth, like what we do. Krishna can progenate somebody from the navel, like he uh, creates Brahma from navel. There is no need of another person for him. Similarly, uh, Krishna can do anything with any of his senses. So Krishna gives birth to so many living entities through the eyes. So it is written that Aham Bija Pita Pita. So by just glancing over the material nature, he gives birth to so many people. So he can do anything from any of these limbs. So therefore, there is no point in saying that his mind and his body are different. It's all same. There are some who are demonic. They also think that Krishna, but they also think of Krishna, but enviously. Just like in Kamsa, Krishna's uncle, he was also thinking of Krishna always. But he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional service. This is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is for that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from the bona fide teacher. Krishna is Supreme Personality Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. So, we see some people also think of Krishna, but in a wrong way. Like the example of Kamsa is given. So, we should not take example of Kamsa as our role model. Why? Because there was a king named Vena. So he was the son of Anga, and who took inspiration from Kamsa. And in this way, he was thinking that Krishna is enemy, and he was asking that Brahmanas to stop sacrifices and worship him only. But Kamsa went back to Godhead, but this Vena king, he did not go back to it. He got to hell. So similar, we don't have such absorption in Krishna which Kamsa had, and therefore we should always think favorably about Krishna. That's called Anukulena Bhakti. That should not be Pratikul. So otherwise, we'll not get the destination of what Kamsa got. And therefore, that type of cultivation for us is not proper. And for Kamsa, Krishna was personally present. Krishna killed Kamsa, and therefore he got the touch of the Lord. For us, we cannot get the touch of Lord because Krishna is not manifest here, not present in this material world in personal form. He is there in the name form, in the Archa Vigra form, but he will not come us to kill and do anything. So therefore, uh, we should not do like this. Otherwise, uh, it will not help us to achieve our destination. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisance to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, body, and in his activities, everything. This will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to the Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unsculpturous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotion service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotion service is the highest achievement of human society. So, Krishna has so many forms, and the prior form is of Krishna himself. So, we should, with conviction in our heart that Krishna is the topmost personality of Godhead, and we should engage in his worship. And if we see in India, there are so many temples of Krishna, so many. In some of the states, every village has Jagannath temple. Every village has Krishna temple. And so many people still go and there and chant and morning they do Naga Sankirtan, so many things they do now also. Still now it's going on. So when one does the practice, one offers obeisance to Krishna. So what does obeisance mean is one lowers his head before Krishna and says that you are great, I am very insignificant in front of you. So in this way, everything we should do for Krishna. And we should, in this way, we will be fully absorbed in Krishna. And if we are not fully absorbed in Krishna, we cannot go to Krishna Lok. And therefore, we should always be absorbed in Krishna. At least we should try as far as our intelligence goes. And there are different ways. There are 9 different processes of devotion service. And it starts with hearing. So after hearing, we chant, then remember. And this way, we do service, and last, we surrender everything to Krishna. The 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, I have explained pure devotion service to the Lord. That is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and the localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. So 7th chapters start with devotion service. So 7 to 12 chapters all speak about devotion service. So these chapters speak about devotion service free of jnana and yoga and other things, ashtanga and everything. Karma, jnana, yoga, so these are not required. It should be free from this. And those who are not very pure, they may be attracted to different features of Lord, like somebody wants to merge in Brahman, or somebody meditates on local as Paramatma. But anyone who is a pure devotee, he takes to the service of Supreme Lord directly. So there is a beautiful poem of Krishna in which it's clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. So Krishna is saying that here, if we see that any person who worships him is to be considered superior, because the reward which we will get will be much more times better than worshipping any demigod. And when you worship Krishna, the standards are a bit high. So sometimes somebody may fall down, but still, even if one falls down, he is considered to be superior because he will go back to God maybe within 1 or 2, 3 lifetimes. But for the philosophers, for the yogis, it takes thousands and thousands of lifetimes to go back to God. And that also not all are successful. There are few of them who are successful. And those who do not believe on the form of Lord, on the that Krishna is Supreme Personality Godhead, will never be successful. They will always fail. Only those who believe that Krishna has a personal form, but wants to merge in impersonal form or wants other things, they can be successful only after a long time. Others will not be successful. So one who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be considered, understood to be perfectly saintly person. His accidental, non-devotional activities will diminish and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. So again, we should see it is accidental. One does that activities uh, willingly, then this will not happen. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because Supreme Personality of Godhead takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in the material world. He will eventually receive the supreme word of Krishna. So Krishna takes care that he gives devotional service, and he also takes care that we do not fall from the path of devotional service. And therefore, he guides us through books. He himself incarnates. Uh, there are so many acharyas which give information to us. In this way, we are always protected. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of most perfect knowledge. So we have completed chapter 9 and